Well, hey there, this is John. Welcome back. This is where we bring dads and kids together one woodworking project at a time. So this is the final series in our mitered picture frame, so stick around to see how we finish it up with splines and some really cool stuff. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing here is just marking some walnut that I want to cut off and use for splines at the corner of the miters in the picture frame. So I just made my knife wall, and I'm going to make the rough cut with my Japanese roba saw. So here we go. And that's a pretty nice clean cut. So now I'm just going to make a mark the width of my chisel. So I'm using my chisel there on the edge so you can see that. And I made a couple of those along the whole length, and then I just use a straight edge to mark across and get that straight line. So you can see the line there. And I also created one on the very end just as a guideline for me to follow. And a good cup of coffee in the morning always makes things great when you're woodworking. Okay, so anyhow, I'm going to rip this down into small, thin pieces that are going to be used for the splines, and that's what I'm doing here. This is all freehand method. There's nothing exact about this, so just keep that in mind when you're doing this project. It's not going to be perfect, probably, but that's okay. It's going to look really nice. And so there we have the spline. And now I'm just going to use the first piece to mark out the rest. We'll do this one by one for each one, just as a rough guideline. And like I said before, I made marks across the end. It just makes it easier for you to see when you're cutting. Okay, so this is a cool little trick I saw someone recently do where they lock their plane in the vise and they use it to just plane small pieces because it's too hard to plane them the regular way. But I want to caution you, just watch your fingers because the blade is up. I do not really recommend that you use this method. I was just trying it out, but it does work well. You just need to keep your iron on the plane really shallow and it's going to work out okay, but just watch your fingers if you use this. So here I'm just using this to just plane out the small pieces. Okay, so now you can see I have my mortise gauge, and I want to set that to the width of the spline, which is also the same width as my chisel. And you can just see me kind of playing around making sure it's right. And then I'm going to mark the frame here with a ruler down 1 inch on each side of the miter joint. Yep, and here we're doing it on the other side. And that's how far I'm going to go down. I won't go any further down than that. That way it'll keep everything even. And again, I'm just checking to make sure that the chisel is the right width here. Okay, so now I'm going to mark this out starting at that depth line of 1 inch up. And you can push it or pull it, whatever way is easier for you to see. It just kind of depends on how you have it held in, the vise or whatever you're clamped to and what you can see better. So just use what works for you. And it doesn't have to be deep. You just want to be able to mark it out, see it, and then I like to lay in some pencil lines so I can make sure when I'm working with it that I can see where I'm going and stay between those lines. So here I'm just making an indentation with the chisel for my depth line that I don't want to go below. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Yep, here we go on the other side. Nice and easy, just push it right in. Okay, time to lay in the pencil lines. And you'll see in a minute, I'm going to be doing some saw cuts in between these lines. So I just want to be able to see them so I don't go past them and cut too wide. So here I have my Dazuki saw. And I'm just going to make several cuts. And what that's going to allow me to do is to remove the waste wood easier with my chisel. once I have a lot of this wood broken down into multiple cuts. So just try to keep even here as you're going across and down, and watch your depth lines that you don't go past them. And sometimes you might have to keep blowing the dust away just so you can see your lines. Alright, so it's time to remove the waste with the chisel. So what I recommend is just doing a lot of little shallow cuts. Don't be too aggressive and go too deep too quick, anything like that. Just keep on working it slow and easy and removing the waste in small amounts. And I always like to remove my waste at the bottom pretty quick after I start removing the waste, because that way nothing will come down and chip out below that depth line. So I hope that makes sense, but here you can see how I'm doing it. And just take your time. It'll work out fine, but don't get in a rush or you'll run into problems for sure. Okay, so remove some of the waste, just tap it, it'll fall out. And here's the look at what the inside looks like. Not bad. And I chose to go ahead and use my chisel here and just clean up the walls, make sure they were parallel and that my spline will sit down in there nice and even. Make sure that it's snug. You know, it's going to be snug. It's not too loose, not too tight where it pushes the frame out. Just make sure it's got a nice little snugness to it. And here's another look. A little more cleaned up. So I'm testing out some of the splines and until I find one that works. Now we're just going to spread some glue and seat it down in there. Try to use a thin coat. You don't need a ton of glue here. Just a nice thin coat on each side will work fine. This sets up pretty quick, so don't wait too long if you're using what is that? Well, if you're using the regular wood glue. I can't remember what they call it. It's not PVC. I can't remember. But if it's regular wood glue, just seat it and work with it. It sets up quick. So now I'm just going to cut off the extra excess there as close to the frame as possible. I don't want to dig into the frame. I want to have to clean up as little as possible later. So just try to get close to the frame. And here's a little close-up just to see. So yeah, I'm about maybe a 30-second away from the frame. And that's just fine. And now we're just going to cut off the other side. And there you go, there's both sides. So it's pretty close. Now it's time to plane. Now one thing I want to mention here is I'm planing towards the outside edge of the miter. Don't do that. Plane inwards. Plane the other way, because there's unsupported fibers at the corner, and I actually chipped some of that out, and I couldn't fix that in the end, so I had to live with it. So now you can see there real quick I planed toward the inside, and you want to do that. So there's a quick look. I think it looks pretty sharp. I'm excited about that. I love the look. So here, Madie is now down in the shop with me, and we're just going through all the same process I just showed you. But I always try to get my kids in on this, and it's so much fun to work with them in the shop. So I'm just guiding her, and we're having a good time.
Even across. Blow that wood out for me. Blow that wood away. The chips.
This saw is a little high for her to hold that in that position, but we just worked through it. She wasn't able to be with me on a lot of this project, but we did get some good time in here and did one corner together, which was awesome. And I had her glue it up here, which you're going to see now.
Take your finger, put it down in the glue, and when you take it out, wipe it not across the whole thing, from about here over. Wipe it all over that, and then flip it and hold it in your hand, and then do it again and wipe it. Yeah, about the middle, all the way over to the edge, and cover the whole thing. It's gonna be kind of sticky, so just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Get in there.
I just did.
Okay, now, yep.
Oh,
go ahead and wipe it on. Just wipe it on. Wipe it all across. Get it nice and thin, kind of thin. Wipe it. Okay, now take both hands at the top. I need you to fit it in right here. Push it down all the way.
Push it down.
Push it down. You want to seat it. Okay, that's seated. Now look. Now take this. Give it a little tiny taps right in the center.
Rough.
Okay. Here, actually, pull this back for a second.
Start.
I'm show the viewers.
The viewers. It's so clear picture. Yeah, that one's better. I like that one much better. I can do it because this plan is much better for me.
See how we're getting it down? Yep.
Over here.
Okay, you got Madie Mad Dawgs with me, and we are going to put some Danish oil on this picture frame. So, I want to give you a quick look up close out in the natural light what this looks like as best as we can on camera. So you can see the walnut's dark, but this Danish oil will bring out the grain on that. It'll make it look really nice. So anyhow, here's just a quick overlook. The back I'm not worried about. There's some glue and stuff like that, and some, dings in the frame, but that's going to be against the wall, so I didn't bother finishing that real nice or anything. I'm not even going to put Danish oil on the back of that. All right, there's Madie Mad Dawgs, and I'm sorry if the camera gets a little shaky. I'm one-handing this. I don't have any special equipment, but let's see. We've got Watco Danish Oil Natural. All right, Madie, let's do it. Okay, now I'll take the can from you. It's going to be really clear. There's not really much to it. You can see just a hint of it making the wood just a tad bit darker, maybe a little bit yellow-like.
Now on the side.
Let's get a little more. Okay. Yep. Now, go ahead and let's do this. Let's hold this up to the camera.
Oops, didn't mean to do the back.
Go ahead and wipe that corner so that they can see maybe what it looks like before and after. Yeah, see how that darkened up? You see that?
Yeah.
Do this corner.
Wait, which side? Yes, this side.
Nice. Okay. Good job.
Well, all right. I'm so excited how this turned out. This project was awesome, and I'm excited that I got to make part of it with Madie. She didn't get to do the whole project with me, and you know what? I'm finding out that it's better if my kids do part of the project with me. It makes things a lot more fun in the shop because we're not focused on all the videography and getting everything done. It's better if we do a little bit of video and work together more off camera. It's just a lot more fun that way. And so anyway, you got to see her do a little bit, and she's super stoked on how this frame turned out. It's really beautiful, and with all its flaws. Hey, listen, this was an experiment for us. We're not awesome master woodworkers, but we want to make cool things, and we want to show you how we're doing it so that you can do it too. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you'll come back for some more. We have a lot of exciting things coming up, and you know, we have a lot to develop, a lot of areas to grow in. We can always improve things: video, lighting, microphone. In this case, a lack of a microphone right now because I can't find my microphone. It's ridiculous, but that's what happens sometimes, especially when you have 4 kids and you don't have any sleep. So anyway, getting away from that, let's dial it back in, John. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I hope to see you on the next one. Always remember life's most important order: love God, love each other, and woodwork. We'll see you next time.